Hello, my name's Warren Wint, and today I'm going to talk you through handling discipline. This is going to be an overview. We have other videos and webinars on our website at www.totalsuccess.co.uk. We take you through some of the finer points of this particular form of management. How to handle a discipline interview and process. We've run training courses for many years. I've been running training courses for over 30 years now. And within my career as manager and director of organisations, I have carried out numerous disciplinary procedures. It can be a very daunting process. First time you do this, it can be very nerve-wracking for both parties, whether you are part of HR, whether you're part of the investigating group, or whether you're the manager or director carrying out the disciplinary. It's also quite stressful for the person going through the disciplinary as well. So it is important to make sure that you get all of the processes in place so that you can carry it out as best as you can and hopefully to create the best outcome. One of the key things we always try to emphasise in our training courses is a disciplinary is just a mechanism to try to engage with the employee to get them to see that if they follow through the processes and pathways of the disciplinary, outcomes of the disciplinary, it should be a positive outcome, not a negative outcome. So one of the key things we always try and emphasise is the fact that managers should look at it from the positive. This is just a process to be able to get back onto a firm footing with an employee in terms of performance or behaviour. There are two things we always try and emphasise on the courses, and today when you're looking at this video, we intend this video to be designed as a set of guidelines and suggestions for you. If in doubt, please consult your HR department. If you're in the HR department, please look and consult with your management about procedures. Are they set out in your terms and conditions of contract, in your staff handbook? Are they available to everybody? If in doubt on that, if you're not quite sure, there are lots of organisations out there who can give you very good consultative advice, and ACAS, the Advisory Arbitration Conciliation Service, can actually give you information as well, and they provide very good services for this. So one of the first things about approaching this seriously is look towards the resources that you have. But again, come back to the two questions. One of the first questions is, do you have a procedure? Is there a procedure set out? Is a procedure revised? Do you understand the procedure? Do those involved in the disciplinary process understand the procedure as well? If not, then you need to think through what you have, what people have, and what they can follow. To do this properly, you need to have a process to follow. Everybody needs to understand what the process is, because there are in most disciplinary procedures, it takes a long time, and there are certain key things you have to make sure that you get right in this. These videos that we're doing, these blogs, they're designed to give you an overview in terms of what to do, how to do it, and what to do next. But nothing defeats or excuses the ability or the need to have a proper procedure. The other question we ask as well is, have you done everything possible within your power to avoid this situation? Now let's start from this particular position, because if you're going to go through disciplinary procedures, let's go before we get to that particular point in terms of informal measures to allow somebody to get back on track. Most performance issues, most areas which are going to lead to this will be either behavioural or to do with some sort of performance. Have you considered everything up to that point? Have you spoken to the employee? Have you tried to resolve problems informally? Sometimes a quick word, a quiet word, allowing the person to understand what the situation is before it escalates to a point whereby there is no return and you're on a particular pathway to disciplinary is what you need to be able to do. It needs to have some sort of one-to-one, whether that's designed within the role, if you do one-to-ones with your staff, which we always recommend, or if you have to sit down with somebody and explain to them what the procedures are, what their behaviour, what their performance is in an informal way. We call that counselling, performance and behavioural counselling. It's a precursor And usually that should sort the situation out. You should know what to do with performance counselling. We do have videos which actually explain that in more depth and detail. And if you're looking to enhance your skills, then obviously we have training courses at totalsuccess.co.uk which can talk you through those as well. You may also consider, in the informal route, offering mediation. Now, I'm actually a trained mediator, and I do workplace mediations, where I teach workplace mediations as well. And mediation is a process whereby people in disputants, we call them, can come together in a room and to talk through what they need to be able to do to move forward. When you get to a mediation situation, there's generally a certain element of deadlock in the situation, i.e. either or both parties are unable or unwilling to move forward. If an organisation has mediation, it should be set out in terms of in the employee handbook, what is available, what the process is, so everybody understands what mediation actually is. It is an informal process of communication to which disputants can, through dialogue, come to some sort of understanding of how they can work together much more informally. It opens up the channels of communication. And one of the key things about having mediation is it's a very good informal mechanism to allow you to be able to manage that through. If you have mediation already within your framework, then you should have mediators in the organisation, or you call in external mediators to help you within this process as well. We would also recommend that your managers are trained to deal with situations in terms of conflict management from low level, where, as we mentioned before, an informal discussion, to higher levels of managing conflict, where the situation might produce conflict between two parties. In relation to that, you should always know what the steps to take. Is there a framework whereby two people can sit down and talk through the issues? Are the managers trained to be able to do that? Do they know how to deal with potentially difficult issues, potentially difficult situations, and let's say potentially difficult encounters with members of staff? This is a very stressful time for a lot of managers, and a lot of people fear this type of confrontation, even though in some situations it is a necessary process to use. Again, we talk about the informal side of it. We're still talking about informal. We have to make sure that you have done everything that you can to ensure that your staff know what they need to be able to do. Not just managers as well, but also staff as well. Because if you can informally resolve something before it gets to a disciplinary or a formal warning, then it avoids all of the messy meetings, the paperwork involvement, the investigations that can occur. So if you can manage a situation informally, it means that you can resolve it, you can actually produce an action plan, and you can check that the employee's following through. There are times when situations occur and you may need to update your policies and procedures in relation to a particular situation. One of the areas that have come up recently has been GDPR, where people may, for whatever reason, not understand the full implications of following through on company procedure in terms of data protection. A lot of organisations have gone through a complete rethink of their policies and procedures, both from staff perspective and also online perspective and procedural perspectives as well. So really, at the end of the day, you have to make sure that you are fully compliant with all areas and staff understand the procedural elements of this particular area. Now, that's where we're talking now on the informal side. As I mentioned before, we do have seminars and videos, and we do have workshops which can allow you to be able to learn the processes in a clear way, in a practical way, so you learn not only the theory of managing conflict and difficult situations with performance and behavioural counselling, but also how to follow through on those and ensure that the person carries through. If you're going for the informal route, which we always recommend, as I say, don't just rely just on the conversation. We can coach most people in terms of how to handle an informal counselling interview and get somebody back on track. But really what we need to be able to think about also is how do you maintain those gains? If you're now looking at what standards you require from somebody and you had a conversation, you have to maintain. Change is not just an instant thing, change has to be maintained. So one of the key things that we say within the procedures is that the actual interview itself is fine, but it has to be followed through by good managerial processes. Now, this will be part one of this particular series of videos and blogs. There are more resources on our website, some free resources which you can download. In part two, we'll be talking through past the informal counselling, and we'll be now looking at the actual disciplinary. What do you need to do? This can be a very stressful time for a lot of people, because when it comes down to this particular point, and a lot of managers have very little experience or expertise on this particular area, can be worried, concerned, and very stressful. And what our next videos are due to allow you to be able to see is how you can get through this in the most pain-free way and produce an outcome which is workable for all. As I said, my name is Warren Wint. Thank you for listening and watching this video. I hope it's given you a few tips and techniques on what you need to be able to do. For further information, please go to our website, www.totalsuccess.co.uk. You can also contact our office, and we'd be more than happy to send you some information on the courses that we do. We run our own courses you can book onto. We've got lots of information online. We can help you in situations in relation to this itself. So thank you very much for your time, and please tune into our other videos and blogs on disciplinary procedures and correcting poor performance. Thank you.